Thinking about self-publishing and don't know where to start? Join the Spa Girls each week for 30 minutes of honest advice, tips and resources. I'm Trudy J and I am here with Cheryl Phipps.
Hi there.
Wendy Valla.
Hello.
And Shah Barrett.
Hi there.
And this week we have a very special guest.
Yay.
We've got Amira Alvarez, who is a
Yay.
life coach. Is that the correct way to, how would you?
I consider myself a business coach because I help women create more income in their lives and
Awesome.
businesses. And really it's about achieving your goals. So whatever your goals are.
That would be
Cool.
it. I was just going to introduce you as the unstoppable woman, but I just didn't know if that was too. Awesome. So what we'll do is we'll get Shah, if you've got your bio there, to read out your bio, and then we will get right into the questions.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here, Amira. So Amira Alvarez is the founder and CEO of The Unstoppable Woman, which is a global coaching company helping entrepreneurs, empire builders, I love that, athletes, creatives, and rising stars in all fields achieve their dreams and goals in record time. As someone who has made a quantum leap from going from barely making 6 figures to moving on to 7+ figures, she has lived to tell about it, and she knows exactly what tactical strategies and mindset shifts are required to get out of your own way, which, trust me, we need, and live life on your own terms and master the art of achieving any goal you set your mind to. We're going to put all the links to Amira's website, which is theunstoppablewoman.com, her free resources, which are on there, and her podcast as well. So thank you so much for being here, Amira. I'm going to hand it over to Trudy, who can tell you about what we're going to talk about today, but just thank you so much and welcome to New Zealand.
Happy to be here.
So we wanted to talk about the strategic art of focus, which we thought is a great topic for us. So first of all, could you just tell us a little bit about, well, should we start with an intro of how you got into being a business coach? Like what made you decide that you wanted to work in this area?
Yeah, absolutely. So years and years and years ago, I was in a different field altogether, and I was running my own business. I was working in corporate. I left corporate. I studied a mind-body technique for 3 years, and then I hung my shingle out thinking, isn't this the best thing in the whole entire world? Everyone's going to come banging down my door, and I'm going to have this fabulous business. And that was not the case. And I was entrepreneurial, and I was a go-getter, and I was doing what I knew how to do, but I wasn't making the kind of money that I wanted to be making. And that adage, like, you'll just do it and they'll come if you have passion and great service, was not the case. And it was actually interesting because it wasn't a very well-known modality. So there was a little bit of education to sell, and there were some gating factors around that, but everyone has gating factors in whatever industry they're in. You'll find the gating factor if you want to find the gating factor. But it was at that stage that I went and I started taking business development courses, if you will. And I got into this world of studying with business coaches because I was running my own business and I had no idea how to use social media and how to price my stuff and how to do the programs and all of that. And there was 1,001 things that I needed to learn and do. So I started learning it, and I was very successful at it. I ended up being one of the most successful people in my industry. At that time, I lived in the Bay Area in California, and I just naturally started, people were asking me what I was doing, and I started sharing, like, you got to do this, and then you have to do this, and then you have to do this. And some people took my advice and some people didn't. And it was interesting to see how that worked and where people got stopped and all of that. And because we all get stopped, right? Raising my hand to that. And I'm not immune to that. And then I left the Bay Area, and the practice I had was location specific. So I had to decide whether I was starting a new business or what I was doing. And I realized I wanted to do this helping thing where I was helping people build their business. So I gave it a shot. There's a bunch of missing, steps in there, but that's the short story. And I did really, I hung out my shingle again and was like, here's what we do. And all of my first clients were women that I had met in my previous business when I was going to these learning events in person that then they had stayed friends with me on Facebook, and we had this connection. When I held out my shingle, they said, oh yeah, let's talk. You could help me. So that's the origin. And I found myself, my little mini story around this is, you know, that first year in business when I hung out my shingle, and I don't know what the translation is, the conversion is.
No, that's fine. Yep.
But $30,000 for my first year in business. Then the second year in business, I tripled that. So there was some success going on, and I made 90K. My third year in business, I crossed that mythical 6-figure mark, and I made 138. And by the way, I share these numbers so that people understand what the progress was. Like, it wasn't an overnight thing. And I was having some success. It wasn't no success at all, because I think some people say, well, you're so far ahead, it can't work for me.
Yeah.
And they don't understand everything that went on to make that happen, or that, you know, I'm so far in the beginning, it can't happen for me. Like both sides show up. So, and then that year I was, you know, working my patootie off. I was just trying to do all the things, right? And when you're running your own business, and writing a novel is like running your own business. I've worked with a lot of writers, you know, and you gotta do all of it. Okay. And I was working, I don't know, 10, 12, 14-hour regular days. And I will tell you, I will still sometimes put in that level of hours, but I have this delighted, excited energy from it. Whereas back then I was like on a little hamster wheel of never enough. It felt like there was a monkey on my back. Like emotionally, I could never get ahead. I could never feel like a success, because there's always more. And from a female feel-good perspective, you know, at the end, there was this one night where I was sitting on the floor in my office. I was leaning against the couch that I had with my laptop actually on my lap. And my husband called up and was like, hey baby, you coming down for dinner? I was like, yeah, thank you. I'll be right down. 20 minutes go by. I was like, oh, just one more thing. I have to get one more thing done. 40 minutes go by, and he's like, baby, I'm going to start. See you when I see you, kind of thing. And it was like this moment where it's like, I can't keep on like this. Like, this is not sustainable. And the ugly truth was every day was like that. This particular day was not a client day. So I was still in the clothes that I had slept in, which were not like the sexy little negligee. It was, you know, it was the sweats and the leggings with the ripped t-shirt and the dog hair on it. And I hadn't showered, and I hadn't brushed my teeth. And it was like 7 p.m. at night. Okay. And it was this like, I can't, this is not what I had in mind. Okay. And I'm all about comfort also, but that was not the image I had for myself in this world. So long story short, at that point, I had to figure out, what do successful people do to achieve their goals? Like, I had big goals. I had all this potential, these things I wanted to achieve. And what was I not doing that other people did? And what were the missing links? Because for me, I was smart. I'll throw back my hair again on that. Like, I was like, I kind of got some smarts. I'm well-educated. I'm a hard worker. I'm a nice person. I'm a good person. I respect people, like all these things that you're told lead to success, and they do. Okay. Hard work is part of it. Being respectful is part of it. All that is true. Why wasn't I actually having a major breakthrough here? So that's when I went and focused on what a success mindset was, what success habits were, and really changed how I was showing up in this world. And I went from 138 to 700K in that year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
That was my breakthrough. That was my big, like, oh my God.
So Amira, did you take...
you go, Cher. Sorry.
I was going to say, did you take time out from what you were doing to learn that or become that? You just had to fit that in around it?
I studied. So I worked with a mentor. I studied on my own. I triangulated like what I was studying, and I applied it to my business. Instead of it being in a vacuum, I made myself the guinea pig, if you will. Okay. And And it worked. It was like, it was a pinch me moment, right? Like, oh my God, that worked. Can't believe that worked. Did that really work? That worked? Right?
Brilliant.
But now I know that it actually does work, because like I've helped all these women do similar things. You know, some people are starting at a different level, and they're just going from like, I want to make, like they're going from 2K to 4K a month, or they want to have their first 10K month. Like it works at all different levels. And what I found was that there's a methodology to it, and the art of strategic focus is part and parcel of it. So, okay. Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the things you did, or that may or may not be anything to do with the art of strategic focus. I've completely lost interest in that now.
So we can talk about whatever you want. So, do you want me to just tell you what I did? I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So
we're taking notes immediately.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing, guys. I can tell you what I did, but the key thing, because I'm fundamentally a mindset coach. I'm fundamentally what do you have to change on the inside so that you can be aligned and take action on the things that I'm going to tell you how to do. Okay. Now your audience is not selling their coaching services. They have a different model. Okay. So everyone's business model is going to be slightly different, but the key concepts here are the same. So fundamentally, I had a goal, and it was can I swear on your podcast?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Okay. I just like to be cognizant of, it was a big ass goal. Okay.
Yeah. That's not the swearing.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I decided I wanted to make $1 million that year. And that's not what most people do. Most people would be at 138. Like a stretch goal would be like, well, let's go for 200, or let's go for 150 or something there, which would have been, I'm not going to knock it. That would have been very satisfying and, kudos and amazing. But I set a big goal. So that's one of the things I teach. You have sideways goals, which are maybe the same level, but in a different industry, or like you've done it already, you can do it. You've written a book and you've self-published it. You're writing a book and you're self-publishing it again. You've had that experience, you can do it. Okay. Then there's a step goal, which is like, it's a little bit more. That would have been my 200K, right? It's not insignificant. You'll have to learn new things to do it, but it's not as exciting as $1 million. Okay. Let me just tell you, right? I mean, can you feel the difference there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
Right? So whatever, like if someone's self-publishing for the first time, like you want to make that an exciting goal. I'm going to do that before my 50th birthday. I'm going to do that within the next 6 months. Right? Like something that is aggressive, like a real stretch for you and is thrilling. I'm going to self-publish with this format, and I'm going to get it on the bestseller list on Amazon over here, right? Like you have something that is like, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but that's what I want. Okay. So this is a real big piece, guys. A real big key is you set the goal based on what you desire, not on what you think is possible. Because we don't know what's possible. And we always base what's possible on what we've done before, which would make it a sideways goal, which doesn't get you anywhere. Yeah. It's a closed loop there. Okay. And most women, most men too, but I work with primarily women, won't set a big stretch goal because they can't see the how yet. And if they can't see the how, they don't want to be disappointed. They don't want to make a mistake. They don't want people to judge them and say, you're crazy. How could you do that? But the ways and means, the how comes in once you decide. So step one, desire, own your desires. Okay. I call this the freedom equation, by the way. Let me teach you the freedom equation instead of the art of strategic focus. They're basically very similar. Okay. I'll link it together for you at the end. Okay. Step one is own your big desires. Okay. Really claim what you want. So whatever it is, whether it's a relationship or money or a creative goal, own what you really desire. Then decide. Make it a decision, not a wish. Okay? People say, oh, I want that. That would be nice. I hope that would happen, but they're not committed to it. They haven't decided. You have to decide. And usually there's some form of public accountability saying you're going to do it. And you have to be careful who you share what with, because you don't want people who are going to sabotage you and undermine your confidence. So I shared it with my mentor. I shared it with my husband. This was a very private thing. When I went from being a couch potato to walking, okay, so I walked part of the way, a marathon, I shared that with my Facebook community because I was like, I want to be shamed if I don't do this. Like, and no one shamed me, but like I wanted that level of accountability, and it wasn't as vulnerable a thing for me, and I was actually well supported in that, so that was great. Yeah. And then, once you have the desire, once you've decided, then you have to move through the denial phase, which is where all the doubts and the self-sabotaging behaviors and the I can't do it, and then waking up with anxiety in the morning come in. And for women especially, it's having to take care of other people, thinking you have to take care of other people, kids, partners, parents, all of that, making the dinner, the distractions, the procrastination that comes up, did I say self-doubt, right? Mm-hmm. Can I do this? Can I actually do that? Who am I to think that I can do this, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. All of that's going to come up, and it's going to come up in a way that you will agree with. And that's the rub. Okay. Mm. Your subconscious programming, and that's a bigger discussion, but your subconscious programming will only get you to agree with stopping with what it knows you will agree with. So if you think investing money in your writing practice, like you need to learn, like buy an app or get mentorship or a program to help you do something, or a course that's going to teach you how to do something, like learning Facebook development or something. Yeah. Yeah. So if you think that you're not worth investing in that, you'll see an opportunity in front of you to that will help you achieve your goal, but your subconscious mind will say, oh, we don't spend money on that, and you'll agree with it because we don't spend money on that. Okay. Mm-hmm. But that was the opportunity that was right in front of you that was going to help you close the gap on time, fast track things. And we don't see it. It's a total blind spot for us. We don't see it because it fits our own belief structure. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you have to learn how to bring truth to the situation. Okay.
That sounds really hard. If you kind of think these thoughts and you believe that they're true, like you kind of go, these are my doubts. This is why I don't think I'm going to make $1 million. So how do you kind of go, how do you know what you have to kind of go, oh, well, I'm going to spend all my money on this course and not, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a couple different places to go with that. One is I worked with a mentor who was light years beyond me and could bring truth to the lies that were in my head. Okay. Before I signed up to work with him, I was educating myself. I was doing all his free stuff and pulling it in and getting my mind reprogrammed for success. Okay. Because I recognized the truth in what he was teaching, but I had resistance. I couldn't get there, all of that. But then once I started, I mean, that's a key aspect of anything with success. Hire someone, work with someone, find someone who's done it before, even if you're just having a conversation for advice, right? Don't ask your sister or your uncle who's never done what you want to do. Ask for advice. That's asking the wrong person. They might love you, but they don't have the credibility and the expertise to guide you in what you're trying to do. So ask the person who's already done what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a big deal for me, because then when I got in my noise, I had someone who could be like, here's what you need to pay attention to. And then the other piece was I really studied and I learned what is called universal law. So I don't know if you're familiar with this. Many people know it as like the law of attraction and all of that. And that's a subsidiary law to the law of vibration. And I learned through a lineage of people that, you know, over the years have taught this, and I studied deeply what it meant. And I used myself again as a guinea pig to test it out so that I understood it intimately and could then teach other people, because I wanted to be able to do that. But if you don't want to be able to do it, you still need to study it and apply it to your life so that you understand what success is based on. There are laws to achievement. There are laws to have, natural laws to having what you want. But we're brought up and conditioned in a way that is contrary to that, much to our parents' best efforts, right? But I find that most people in the Western society have things backwards, and they don't understand how the universe works, or how creation works, and how you get something from an idea. I want to make $1 million, or I want to have an Amazon bestseller, or I want a New York Times bestseller, to that in the 3D manifested, created, I can hold it with my hands, you know, world. Most people don't know what's at play there. And when I learned those laws and stopped saying like, oh, that's just playthings and like funny woo-woo stuff, but took them seriously, then, and started holding myself to higher and higher standards around applying it, I got the results, right? And it was pretty amazing to watch that happen. Yeah.
Wow.
Could you just quickly run us through, like there's 7 of them, did I read that right?
There are 7 of them.
7 universal laws. Can you just quickly tell us what they are? Yeah.
So we have the law of cause and effect. That's a pretty straightforward one. There's always a cause to every effect. So every result has a cause, and you know, it train of causation, right? There's all these causes. You have to understand what the right causes are for the results that you want. Okay. And that's where ordering your thinking and having an ordered mind comes in. And so you want to, here's a just simple one. You want to write a bestseller, you gotta write. Okay. Okay. Yeah. You want to write a bestseller. Like I'm breaking it down to the kind of ridiculous. Okay. Yeah. No, but you want a bestseller and you want it to be done in the next 6 months. It's a math equation. How much do you have to write every day? What do you need? How much time do you need after the first draft? Right. And it's like, that's what, then you have to create the time to do it. And anything that's interfering with that is you self-sabotaging, because it's a cause, right? The cause is writing, and you have to learn how to plots, and you have to be a good writer, and, you know, maybe some experience there would help. But, you know, you've got to write.
And it's amazing how many people who say they want to be a writer and they want to write a book, but don't write. So that's actually quite an important. Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is the case with almost everyone. Like it's not actually complicated, but that self-sabotaging piece that I talked about, that's why I work with people's mindsets, because the tactical outer game pieces are not that complicated. But what gets in the way of focus and showing up is all that inner conflict that we have going on, and we have to adjust that. There's the law of polarity that says everything is created as a whole. Nothing is created as halves. There's no halves in the universe. Halves are a creation of, fractions are a creation of human intelligence. But if you look at nature, there's no half elephant, okay? There's no top without a bottom, front without a back, right? You can't have back without front, okay? It just doesn't exist. So the law of polarity says that everything's created as a whole. So if the desire is felt, the supply is ready to appear. If you want that bestseller and you really want it and you don't throw it away in 3 days, okay, if you claim that big desire, then the supply is ready to appear. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to appear. You have to take action, okay? But it's ready. The potentiality is here, okay? And this works for like, if you're in a terrible predicament, you're calling it terrible. What's the opposite side of terrible? Fantastic. What's the fantastic here? And everyone's had that experience of finding the silver lining in some extraordinarily awful experience. Sometimes that's 3 months later, 10 years later. Your job, if you wish to accept it, is to close the gap on time and do that now instead of later. And then you'll be able to move through your situation faster. The law of rhythm says everything has a rhythm. There's a natural rhythm to events. The law of gender is about the male and female essence coming together in terms of creative process. Okay, so just like sexual energy is, sex is where babies are made, right? And you have a male and a female. Creative energy is the same. You need your masculine essence and your feminine essence to create. So masculine is very directive and focused and action oriented and outward directive, and feminine is very receptive and opening and intuitive, and there's lots more to it, but you need both. Like, you need to get the downloads of the ideas for your book, but then you actually have to sit down and write it. Okay. It also brings in the law of gestation, which is everything has a gestation period, and ideas, you don't know what the gestation period is on it, whereas with a carrot, you know it's 68 days in this environment, right? What am I missing? How many have I done? Law of cause and effect, polarity, rhythm, gender.
You write them all down.
Gestation.
Gestation.
Yeah.
Oh, you're putting me on, I'm on the spot and I'm blowing it. Oh no.
It's fine.
No.
Well, let's leave it there and you can think about it.
Yeah.
And we can keep on going. So I'm just trying to think where to go from here. Like, my questions about strategic focus are clearly
Yeah.
out of the water. So how do we practice this? And so we've talked a little bit about the universal laws. Is that what we called them? You called them?
Yes.
Universal laws. So
Law
how
of
do we?
relativity. Oh my God. Law
Okay,
of
all right.
relativity and law of vibration, which we've kind of talked about. So, sorry.
Yeah.
I
So
laugh
how do
at
we?
myself.
So we
How do we
use
put them
these
into
seven-
practice?
Yeah. How do we put them into
What's the
practice?
best first step?
Well, first step, you have to learn them. Okay. So you either work with someone like me or you go online and you study. Okay. I suggest you work with someone because the interpretation of it is really important. Okay. And understanding how to apply it to your life and your creative pursuits, your business, your goals, is it's in that intersection where you need light being shined on it to really go to the next level. So that would be, I would say, study. And can I do a little pitch for how people can learn more?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a couple places where folks can learn more. For one, there's the unstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. We have a ton of free resources there, including our podcast, which I talk about this stuff all the time, totally free. Just kind of put it on while you're walking, listen, do your thing. We have a mindset club, which is fantastic, which gives people like the information that they need in small little doses every day. And that is an audio recording that I record for people. And then fundamentally coming to the unstoppablewoman.com summit. We have a virtual summit that's coming up, which would be probably awful for you guys. I was going to say it was going to be perfect for you guys because it's virtual and you don't have to fly across the world. But unless you want to be up in the middle of the night, which I would do, if it were me. No, seriously.
No pressure.
But here's the thing, guys. Like, people will tell me, oh, if it was, on a different date or in a different city or whatever, I would go. I would friggin' move mountains. Like, for me, when I started listening to this and hearing it and understanding the power that I could create for myself as a result of learning this, I was like, I'll do anything. Give me the good stuff, okay? And I traveled, like, whenever my mentor had something going on, I was traveling across the country, feeding my brain all the time. And it worked, okay? Yeah. So anyways. Yeah. It is a little bit of like, wake up in the middle of the night.
So what you're saying is we have to wake up in the middle of the night.
Excellent. So if we don't turn up, we're going to be
big trouble.
What I'd love to talk about is sabotage. You talk a little bit about that on the website, and we do sabotage ourselves, and sometimes in big ways, sometimes in little ways. So yeah, I'd like to hear what your take is on that.
Yeah, so we really do. So here's the thing. We have a self-image that was created when we were young children. And that self-image is like a target. It's what we know ourselves to be. It's our identity. And we have a cybernetic mechanism. Cybernetic just means like a thermostat. You know how if you set it to 70 degrees, well, you guys are Celsius, but I'll set it to 70 Fahrenheit. I don't know what the translation is, but like if your thermostat, if the heat in the room goes up, your thermostat says, oh, we need to cool it down back to 70. If it goes down, it needs to be brought up and heated to 70. And it keeps going to the target of 70. Okay. Mm-hmm. So same thing with like a rocket. It's like if the torpedo is set for that target, it's going to do this little micro adjustments until it reaches its target. Okay. That's a cybernetic mechanism. We have a cybernetic mechanism that says this is our identity. We are someone who is like this. Mm-hmm. That was built when we were very young. Now we're an adult and I say, I want to be a millionaire. You say you want to be a bestseller author, right? That's beyond my self-image. Way beyond. That's not who my subconscious thinks I am. Okay. Now your subconscious has one directive. It's to keep you alive. Yeah. And it thinks that if it doesn't keep you heading towards that self-image and that identity and keeps you in that identity, you will die. Any change, any deviation from that is potential death. Your conscious mind is, I want something new. Why do I keep self-sabotaging and getting the same results? But this is what happens. Whenever you, let's use the writing example, you start going gangbusters, you set a schedule for yourself, you've block scheduled your calendar, and you're like, wow, I've written 5 chapters this week. Oh my God, that's been amazing. And that's like you going to 90 degrees. Okay. You've just knocked it out of the friggin' ballpark, right? Your subconscious is going to be like, no, you can't do that. Come back to 70 degrees. We don't think of you as someone who can have that level of success. Mm-hmm. So what happens? Oh, the kids need something. The parents need something. You get sick. Getting sick is a big one. It doesn't look like anything you would disagree with. Like, oh my God, I've got the flu again. Are you someone who always gets sick? Right? Like, how can you deny that you're sick? You need to rest, drink fluids, all of that stuff. But if that's your pattern, pay attention. Because it looks normal. You agree with stopping when you get sick. Yeah, does that happen for you?
There's some uncomfortable shifting going on here.
Uncomfortable rocking. You're just lucky we're not doing this.
Although to be fair to Wendy, she is probably the most prolific of us all. So,
Yeah.
she did 5
I've
chapters
only
in a
been
day.
once this year, people, and I've travelled twice. Come on.
Good work, Wendy. Good work.
I think that is such a good explanation. It's one of the best. I mean, I've done a lot of reading on this, Mira, but that example about the thermostat, I think there's something that's so relatable, and it's fantastic. So thank you for that.
You're so welcome.
Yeah.
So that's why we self-sabotage, and we only see it afterwards, like,
Yeah.
right? But when it's happening, it looks like the car breaks down, you run out of money, whatever it is, you have a pattern for stopping. And that's why I named the company The Unstoppable Woman, because we have to figure out what your pattern is for stopping so that you can recognize it and not be stopped by it again.
So that's just a lot of self-knowledge, like looking back over your past, what you can see happening, and then not doing that, like working through when you get sick. I don't know. How do we break the cycle? So our body that we're allowed to be at 90 degrees or Fahrenheit or whatever.
Yeah, so there's a whole process for that, but it's fundamentally what I'm talking about. But I teach people how to hold their goals so clear and reprogram themselves, and I do work with clients intimately on what their blocks are, because it's very hard. You're in the forest for the trees. It's very hard to see your own stuff. Once you get good at seeing your own stuff, then you can see your own stuff more easily. That's for sure. But you have to change your subconscious programming. Is really what it comes down to.
So it's not just about addressing your weaknesses and the things that you know are your sort of triggers. It's about addressing them and then trying to deal with them and work through them and change them, the mindset of them.
Absolutely. So you have to change things on 2 levels. You have to change things on the belief structure level, which is the subconscious programming. Okay, that you have a group of beliefs that holds that self-image and identity in place. So you have to change your belief structure. And then you have to take, that's on the subconscious level. On the conscious level, you have to take new actions that support and validate the new beliefs that you are choosing. Okay. And what most people do is one or the other. They use willpower to just take new action, but they haven't changed their beliefs. So it feels pushing and hard and like a struggle. Okay. And you can only keep that up for so long before you burn out. Or they change they work on the mindset side, but they don't lock it in by getting new results by taking new action. And you have to do both to really be super successful.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good.
Wow.
It makes me, I mean, it's not writing, but it also makes me think of weight loss too, how we try to lose weight, and we take all this action, but we've still got the same beliefs. And so you think about all this, like for me, I mean, I know I go up and down with my weight, and it's because I've still got the same old beliefs, and I always go back up again, so it's interesting to talk about that kind of belief system.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Once I learned this, Trudy, I applied it to everything in my life, right? I had my breakthrough on the financial side, but then I did it in my relationships, particularly my primary romantic relationship. I actually got a divorce, and I'm in a fabulous relationship, having great sex, and it's amazing.
Thank you for sharing. That's awesome.
You said it was like having a conversation with a girlfriend.
Yeah. No, we're romance writers, man. We're all about sex.
We're all about
it. I let go of 30 pounds. I ran that marathon coming from a whole family of maybe intellect, think of them as intellects versus like, we never went on a bike ride together. Like that would be like crazy talk. And so I use this for all these places in my life to really change the image of who I was so that I could step into being that person.
Yeah. I think we really do have these set mindsets about who we are and what we can do, even down to things like, oh, I'm just a messy person, or I'm just disorganized. And you can actually look at that and take a step back and say, actually, do I have to be? Yeah. It's interesting.
You don't. That's a really good one. And the other thing to think about mindset is, if you just break that word apart, mindset, it's where your mind is set at.
Yeah.
And if you think about that thermostat, it's set at disorder, it's set at messy, it's set at distraction, it's set at like people will say over and over again to themselves, I'm lazy, I procrastinate, right? Like this is who they are saying I am statements. This is an identity statement.
Mm.
Do you see that? I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a reinforcing of that identity.
And, and you may get that reinforcement as well from people that you know who have always known you that way or have decided you're that way, keep telling you that you're that way, and therefore you will be.
Yeah. And so your environment is really important. You have to pay attention to who you let into your environment. And sometimes we have choice. Well, we always have choice over that. Sometimes people don't want to excise their parents from their life, for instance, right? Just a small detail.
Yeah.
But you have,
I remember reading that in the Jack Canfield book. He talked about how his mentor told him to get rid of some family member out of his life. And I was like, oh, that's a bit harsh.
yeah, but sometimes you have to. And because they're toxic for you and what you are looking to achieve. And there's gradations of this, like, don't take this to mean like everyone has to drop kick their sister, right? Like you don't have to do that. But you do have to know if someone is not really, doesn't have a growth mindset, isn't expansive, isn't going to support you, then you can create strategies of limiting your time or changing certain conversations or not sharing particular things with them. And if someone is constantly saying you're this, I would, in a negative fashion, I would give serious thought to how you are going to set some better boundaries, because that's not supporting where you're going in your best life.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, that's a really good point.
And quite often the people around you don't like change, especially if it leads to success. And that's really something that you notice, that people will quite try to sort of, you don't lose any more weight because, you don't need, that sort of thing. They're sabotaging you as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're making them confront themselves.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, when you start owning your dreams, executing on stuff, becoming different than what your past experience was, you are forcing someone else to change. You think that you're not, you think that it's just you, but they have to change in reflection to you.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's, people they want to deny that they change. No one wants to be forced to change. People want to choose change for themselves. But when you show up and change, it forces them to change, to keep up, or to stay the same, and then they have to see it, and it's a big deal.
Yeah, and they feel like you're leaving them behind, don't they? Sometimes,
I think so.
Yeah. Come with me. Here's my hand, right?
Yes.
But you can't want it for them. They have to want it too.
Yeah.
That's important. Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about was you mentioned moving towards the resistance and like the things that you're afraid of or the things that you don't want to do. And I have a question, because I'm thinking there's certain things that I don't want to do, but I can outsource those. But are you saying that I should be doing them myself because I don't want to do them? Or?
It depends on the thing. Okay. So here's the thing. Love this. Can I use you as a guinea pig?
Please do.
Okay. So what is something that you're resisting doing?
My taxes.
Yeah. And how much energy are you expending not doing it?
I don't think about it, to be fair. So it's possibly not it is in the back of my mind, and I will have to do it come the end of the year.
Yeah. And do you start feeling guilty about it and like anxious about it and like, okay. And it keeps looping in your head. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a waste of freaking energy, Trudy. Okay. Okay. And it's not a great example because it's not fully up for you, but like this week, is there anything that you're resisting doing this week?
What am I resisting? I'm working on my Facebook ads, and I've started doing really well with them. I've started doing them daily. Like I check them and write notes and make changes daily, but I haven't done it for a couple of days. I'm thinking, oh no, what have I done? So I'm maybe that. No?
Yeah. So go do it. How much better would your business be if you were actually doing the thing that you know you need to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's actually interesting because I wasn't doing it for a long time, doing this daily practice of checking in on it. And I have been doing it for the last 3 weeks. And I can see the changes and I can see that it's working better. And I'm almost at the point where I'm kind of like, my brain is freaking out and reminding me that I'm not the kind of person who does it daily and organizes myself.
Exactly.
So what you're talking about.
Right. Exactly. So I'm missing 2 days and then maybe I'll miss 3 and 2 weeks go by and I've dropped the freaking ball.
And
so
the numbers go
there's
down.
the resistance. That feeling of resistance is such a great trigger for you to know that's where you move forward to. Okay. Now, there are bigger things that people resist doing as well, like calling that publisher or calling someone who can collaborate with them, and they have a bunch of nervousness about it. But you got the idea. You know how I said the ways and means come to you? You got the idea to do something. And then you got distracted, you pushed it away, it keeps coming up, you keep saying tomorrow, you keep saying later, when I figure this out, when I do this first, I have to work on this instead. That's resistance. Move towards it. That thing that just dropped in.
Look at their faces.
I know. Do you guys do
You
that?
sound like you're talking about me. You sound like you're just talking about me.
It's real, okay? The struggle is real, right? And that's one of, I talk about closing the gap on time, right? I could have said I want to make $1 million in 5 years or 10 years, right? But instead I said I want to do it in a year. And how do you close the gap on time? Again, law of cause and effect. It's really simple. You do the thing and you stop being in resistance to it, because then you get it done today instead of in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or never. Okay. And you don't lose the momentum. Plus, what I gave you with the tax example, you're not in guilt and shame over it. Okay. And then you're taking the action without overthinking, and you're staying in this new identity of yourself. I am someone who takes quick action. That's just who I am.
It's changing the habits of a lifetime, isn't it?
Say that again.
It's changing the habits of a lifetime.
Absolutely.
We perceive ourselves a certain way. I mean, I know I perceive myself as someone who doesn't like to read a lot of how-to books and learn a lot. I just do what I do, and yet I have to do that to be good at what I do.
Constantly learning, just FYI.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I'm like that cat on the door, with that's just holding on not to be dragged through. It's funny, isn't it? You perceive yourself a certain way, and yet really it's just you that's doing that.
Yeah, totally.
So what do you do if you do have commitments? Like, I'm talking about family, with especially women of a certain age. You're usually going to have grown-up children, but they're going to have grandchildren. They're going to have aging parents and that sort of thing. That's not something you can actually switch off. So how do you manage that when you're trying to achieve those big goals?
Have you ever had a job where you worked for someone else?
Yes.
And did you have to go in on a certain time?
Yep.
And did you tell them my grandkids need me to go to drive them to the summer camp and I can't come into work today?
I did that with my parents when my parents were sick.
Yeah, but what she's saying is you had a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
And nothing stopped you from doing that every day, every week.
No, but I would be flexible, and they would be flexible because I was good at my job. So I did get time off to do things like that.
Right, but you had to ask for time off and plan it, and it wasn't like you dropped everything that morning when you went. Okay? So if you're dropping everything right now for your family, you're not treating yourself with respect. Okay?
Yeah.
You're saying you have a belief system that says other people are more important to me than I am to me, which is coming forward. When you work for a job, it works really well because you're saying, I want to please my boss. That's going to, I need to show up on time. There's some way that serves you and works for you. Okay. But when you want to carve out your own time for writing, if that's the case, and you're dropping everything and you don't have boundaries around your time, that's saying other people are more important to me than I am to me. Okay.
And it can be both, right? You don't have to be saying I'm the most important and my family is unimportant. It's about having the space for you and the space for your family, right?
Did you say that about going to a job? My family's unimportant? No, it's culturally acceptable that that's what you do. Okay. Yeah. So you need to train people, you know, women who run their own businesses. I train them, like, why are you making the dentist appointment at 2 p.m? You know, make it in the morning or make it in the evening so that you can have a solid chunk of time, okay, to work, if that's where your schedule is. I know when I started off, I was like emptying the dishwasher in the middle of the day. I was folding laundry. I was running errands. I was networking, right? Which was like a 3-hour experience because you had to drive there and then you were meeting someone and driving back. Where does the work get done? Okay. So, but if I was working for someone else, that would have never come up. Okay. Right. So I had to learn how to work for myself.
That is important. I had to do that too when I used to make appointments at any time of the day, and now I say no, I can't do anything before 1 o'clock if there's any kind of appointments at all, and I write for the whole morning, you know, and I make that rule for myself, and it's amazing how much more writing I get done.
Amazing. Cause and effect, right? You know? Good stuff.
And then also switching off working too much is another thing. Like, you know, I work all day and then probably all night. Because my husband's watching TV or something and I'll be sitting next to him working. And so there's got to be that line, doesn't there, that where you shut off as well.
Yes. I mean, you have to decide what's important. Like some people love working and it actually gives them energy. And if you're not interested in watching TV, then you need to figure out another way of bonding with your husband and having fun. But great for you if you can figure that's a Saturday afternoon kind of hanging out thing, whereas at night you love writing. So take advantage of that. I think that there's a way in which, how do I say this? There's culturally accepted ways of being. You're supposed to work from 9 to 5. You're supposed to work 5 days a week and take the weekends off. I love what I do. If I want to work on a Sunday, I don't want any noise or guilt in my head about doing that. That's by choice. I also know that client days are these days of the week and these days of the week are team days, right? I have a nice balanced schedule about how I'm doing it. And I also trust myself to know if I'm pushed over the limit in terms of energy. So I would say that to you, Wendy, is like, is the writing energizing, or are you grinding it out and you're not feeling engaged?
The writing is the energizing. I do that. That's no problem. It's all the other stuff
that goes along with the book.
Yeah. So the marketing she's talking about.
All of that, all of the admin stuff. Yeah. But that's all right. It's what has to be done. Like you said, you've just got to prioritize, I think.
Absolutely.
You know.
And to Trudy's point around delegation or hiring people, there are things that you can't scale if you're doing everything yourself. Yeah. So if you are a best-selling author and the more you write, the more you give to the world, right? The more you share and the more success you have, then hire out the admin stuff. There is no reason for you to be doing that. Okay. And sometimes the resistance, Trudy, is not about the thing that needs to be done, the admin task, but it's around the hiring, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm in resistance to hiring someone to help me because I was taught that I'm not worth having help. I have to do everything myself, right? That's my self-image. So I'm in resistance to that, but I know that that's what I need to do to scale. Go hire someone. 10 hours a week to start, right? Or 10 hours a month to start, or something small, right?
Yeah. It's amazing how many roadblocks we put up in front of ourselves. Like, oh my gosh.
I think even the fact that we know about these roadblocks and we know what we do to ourselves, and yet until you actually verbalize it, you don't acknowledge it. Perhaps you don't want to do anything about it.
I think it's also because of the way we were brought up. we're following, we follow on from the way we were brought up and our parents were brought up and rah, and it's sort of like, you've got children. And I also think for writers, I know for myself, I didn't start out this life. I started out, just doing part-time work and working and not really a career. And now I have a career. It's a different ballgame again, So it's the changes and adjustments. There's so many of them.
Absolutely.
Through our whole life, right? We always have to be looking out. And so I think we're probably coming towards the end of our time together, are we not, fellow girls?
Yeah.
So I just have one last question about, for you, like, what is the most important lesson that you feel like you've learned in your journey to where you are now? Like, what's or a piece of advice that you could kind of...
Most important. I always do terrible at the pinnacle, the one and only thing.
Tell us as many as you like. We're fine.
Well, I think I shared the primary one is to own your desires. Like, if you want something, don't deny it. Okay. Don't say you can't have it. If you want those pretty shoes, get those pretty shoes, and then figure out how to, I'm all about, I want the thing, I go get the thing, and then I figure out how to manifest the money to do the thing. But but it could be a non-financial thing as well. If you want a kind of rapport with your husband or partner, say that you want it, claim that, and then go after creating it, because you're a creative being, and you I know it sounds pat, but you really can have anything you want. It doesn't mean that wanting is the only thing, but desire is causative, and it starts with that. So
if you're not specific about what you want and what you desire, that would surely be the first step, right? If you don't know what you want, you're never going to get it.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Well, that's
cool.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed having you. I enjoyed. I don't know about these guys.
Yeah, right.
I think you can tell we have.
We're all really uncomfortable now.
Yes, I think we're engaged.
So, where is the best place to find you, Amira?
Sure. The best place is to go to our website, theunstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. And you can find the link to the podcast there. You can find the link to the Mindset Club there. You can find the link to the virtual summit if you want to get up in the middle of the night, which of
we
course
have to. You told us.
Yeah, well, now we're kind of obliged to
do into gear. But to that end, it's best to come live. But we do have an upgrade where you can get the recordings if you ever want to do that and listen afterwards. But those would be the three places the place to find those three things. And then if you are interested in working with me, there's a consult button on that page as well, and you can reach out and we can have a conversation and see if it's a good fit.
That sounds fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Shah,
Thanks so much.
Shah, where can we be found?
We can be found at spargirlspodcast.com, and we are all over the internet at Spa Girls Podcast, and you can watch this recording here where you can watch our faces as Amira the truths are hitting us.
The horror.
No, the horror and the inspiration, can I just say, and on our YouTube channel, which is Spa Girls Podcast. So thank you so much, Amira, again.
You're so welcome. This was fun. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Spa Girls podcast. We will be back again next week, same time, same place. Well, probably not the same time, but the same place. See you all. Bye.
Well, bye.